Hello and welcome to the Hibs Observer Friday afternoon briefing with myself, Liam Bryce, joined by Murray Grayston to look ahead to Sunday's Premiership clash with Dundee at Easter Road. Another huge game. I mean, I normally say this every single week, but they all are at the moment and they will continue to be, I imagine, until the very end of the season. So just a quick word before we get into it for our sponsor. Hibs Observer is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. So start your search today. Murray, thank you, as always, for joining us. How are you getting on?
For having me. I'm doing good. As I have been for the past 16 games, if you want to look at it that way.
Is that how you measure life now? Like the length of this unbeaten run?
2025 has been fantastic so far. I'm just waiting for it to come to an end.
Well, hopefully it doesn't come to an end this weekend. As I said, another big game, but we'll talk about the game in due course. I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts, first of all, as he seems to be at every press conference now, and it's only kind of natural because there are so many players out of contract. Obviously, I think the big one at the moment, because of his form, is what's going to happen with Martin Boyle. Obviously, everybody knows that his current deal is up at the end of this season, but he's been, he's really been back to his best over these last couple of months. He's potentially, if he keeps up this form, could hit 100 goals for Hibs by the end of the season. So, I mean, it's kind of getting to the point now where you'd expect a decision on this as to what's going to happen, maybe sooner rather than later, at least behind the scenes. I don't know when Hibs will, if it's a positive decision in terms of him staying, make that public. But David Grace, speaking about it yesterday, I mean, he said the word he used is he was comfortable. We've spoken about it a lot, he said, and we're all comfortable with where we are situated at the minute. Are you comfortable?
I don't think when you've got a player like Martin Boyle coming up to the last few months of his deal, you're ever particularly comfortable. But reminiscent of the Paul Hanlon, Lewis Stevenson just announced another year extension at the end of the season kind of days. But I don't know how I feel about it. I think we had obviously that 6 months when he was away before, where we had a bit of time to try and get used to a life without Martin Boyle and the Hibs team, and we certainly missed him, and he came back and made an instant impact. And I think his impact in Hibs in terms of the kind of modern era is certainly up there with the best we've had. And I think his form in recent weeks is just a kind of testament to the rest of the team, I suppose, as well, the way that his form's taken an uptick as well. But he's been back to scoring goals. He's been back. I mean, you look at his goal against Rangers. It's just classic Martin Boyle playing in the shoulder and there to take a chance when the ball gets slid through to him. And albeit it was some kind of questionable with defending, but it's just exactly what he's kind of built a name for himself doing at Hibs. And I think it's something that we'd miss. It's not the type of player that I think we'd have elsewhere in the team at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not many other like him in the league, really, is there? I mean, so can you put into words, how hard it would be if he was to go to replace a guy like that?
I think you just need to look at our kind of striker troubles, if you want to call it that. In kind of recent years, we've never really managed to find a consistent goal scorer out with Martin Boyle for probably since Jason Cummings left the club. I mean, if I'm going that far back, and the impact he has in big games as well is another one. He's the kind of player that you can tell that an opposition manager is talking about Martin Boyle in their team talk before the game, and it's not anything fancy or anything like that. He's just a traditional kind of winger come striker, because obviously he's kind of moved into that central role a little bit with his, where he causes trouble with his pace, his directness, and it's hard to come by. And to be honest, I suppose, obviously, with the exception of his brief period away, I'm being surprised that there's never been suitors elsewhere beforehand.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to complain too much about that.
Do you read much into David Gray saying that he's comfortable with where things are at the moment? Does that sound positive to you? Am I clutching at straws? What do you think?
I think it's a tough one. There's David Gray's never going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, he signed it. We'll be announcing it tomorrow." No, that's the media team's job for starters. But I think he's not wanting to kind of rock the boat all too much at the minute. I don't think he's ever going to come out and say, he's away. It's going to kind of upset a mood, which is quite upbeat at the minute. But in the same token, like I say, he's not going to come out and say, "I'm definitely signing," like that. So I don't think you can read all too much into it, but comfortables, I'll take some solace in that.
Take some comfort from it, is what you're saying, perhaps. It is an interesting one because I think it's. I mean, it almost seems like it's accepted as a given that if he were to go, then maybe it's like Australia or somewhere that he would head to. I know he had those interviews last summer where he hijacked a wee bit on Australian TV. If you remember that, he got really put on the spot. I think it was actually a sporting director from one of the Australian clubs. I don't know if it was Perth Glory or someone and I think he got caught a wee bit off guard by it. And then, when he came back to Hibs, I think he was quite keen to come out and speak and kind of clarify that. But I think you could, with the 2026 World Cup coming up, he's going to have his eye on that. You know what happened? He missed the last one through injury. You'd think at the age he's at now, 31, there would be a certain appeal in going out to somewhere like that. He could still earn decent money in the E-League as one of the sort of marquee players. I mean, you can, but there might also be like a kind of, people might be looking at it from the point of view of like, why would you want to leave Hibs at the minute? It's probably, as he said it himself, it's as good a sort of group and a feeling and an atmosphere as he's ever experienced at the club. But can you understand maybe why there could potentially be a lot of things for him to weigh up? Oh,
absolutely. I mean, you go right into the kind of stuff, obviously, that's completely unfootball related in terms of, talking about family and stuff like that as well. But a football career is a short thing, and I don't think any Hibs fan would ever grudge Martin Boyle wanting to uproot and try his hand at staying in Australia for even a little bit. As glorious as Edinburgh is, of course. But I'm not 100% sure what to think about it, and I don't know if perhaps one of the big factors is going to be European football. Obviously, there's a lot of permutations, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen just yet. But I can't help but feel that if we had guaranteed group stage European football in 2025, that would perhaps be a kind of swing factor for him in staying at Easter Road.
Yeah, because it'd be a first for him, first for Hibs really to go and play in the group stages of a UEFA competition, and that's kind of leads us on, I think, to Saturday's game. I knew I was going to say that. Sunday's game. I've got Sunday written up on the wall here behind me just to stop me from saying that, but obviously it wasn't going to work. So it's last game before the split where you'd think things will get really kind of, I don't know what the word is, kind of exciting once those fixtures come out. But I mean, again, it's a really important one just to keep the momentum going. There is always the possibility at the moment that Aberdeen could jump back into that third spot. And I was kind of trying to write a wee bit about this today. It's like there's this kind of understandable excitement around potentially matching the unbeaten record from 1948, but it's a wee bit strange at the same time to be talking about a potential club record unbeaten run in the league, and then still looking at the state of play in the league, and it's so finely balanced, isn't it? It's I know it's kind of to do with the start to the season, but it's a wee bit jarring at times to look at it that way.
It's been tough. I mean, you even go back to we beat Celtic 2-1, and I think that was the result that lifted us up into third in the first instance. Mm-hmm. And then just thereafter, you think you go unbeaten after that, you win over at Ibrox, you think surely we've built up a little bit of wiggle room and a bit of breathing space, but no, Aberdeen have obviously returned to form and they're still down a neck, and I think that's going to be the kind of state of play for the rest of the season. I don't think we're going to get 5 or 6 points clear where you can go into a match thinking, we don't need to win this one at least anymore. Not that you would ever go into a game kind of thinking in that way anyway, but it's going to be a really tight race, and it's even harder obviously that it's not just Aberdeen, but you've also got Dundee United right there as well. But even space to Hearts need to get that bit in. But
absolutely. So obviously it's Dundee on Sunday, and it's one of the only two teams in the league that Hibs haven't beaten this season, Dundee and St Mirren. Obviously, I don't think we need to talk too much about that game back at Dens Park all those many months ago. But they're kind of funny side, Dundee, in that they are struggling a bit down at the bottom of the table, but they have scored kind of round about the same number of goals as Hibs, so they are a threat, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely, they're a threat. I think I was actually talking to someone about Simon Murray the other day, and I said he's the kind of striker that you just hate to play against because he just doesn't give you a minute. You almost want to tell him to calm down because he's constantly at you. But it's the type of player that I think will cause Hibs problems, and we've seen how Dundee caused us problems earlier in the season. That's 6 goals in 2 games they've scored against us, if memory serves me correctly. So I think we've got a little bit of a problem to overcome on that front, but we're a completely different side from the team that last took them on. So hopefully that bodes well for this one. But they're a side fighting for their life, so it's hardly going to be a straightforward game, despite being at home against someone that's down the bottom end of the table.
Yeah, exactly. Another tough game, and I suppose with all the kind of focus on the kind of unbeaten record, I suppose there'll be a message getting sent to the players that it's not really enough just to draw this weekend, even though that would take you over the line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not over the line; it would match the record. But it's really, again, it's one of those kind of it's a crazy position to be in. But you kind of really need to, you'd think, get another 3 points on the board heading into these post-split games where you will only be playing the sort of top teams in the division. This has got to be really viewed as an opportunity to take points at home against a side that are battling relegation, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you say, you're not going to get fixtures like this post-split, so an important thing is to try and get it while they're there, especially a game being played at Easter Road, and you just need to look at kind of games taking place elsewhere as well. If memory serves me right, Aberdeen have got Rangers at the weekend, albeit perhaps not the guaranteed Aberdeen loss that you might want to have thought at the start of the season. But that's an opportunity there for perhaps us to get a win on board, and then they've at least, if nothing else, got a challenging fixture where you might see them dropping points. Any opportunity we can get post a pre-split to put a little bit of breathing space between us and anyone else, we need to be there to take it, because the last thing you want on Sunday is to be turning around and thinking we've missed an opportunity here, because you see that Aberdeen have dropped points, but so have we.
Yeah, it's another huge weekend. And just in terms of potentially matching this unbeaten record from 1940, I mean, is it almost kind of hard to, appreciate, I think, the significance of going on a run like that and how long it's been, 77 years. It's just something that doesn't happen, really, is it? It's it's kind of hard to almost kind of grasp the significance of it.
Yeah, you look back that people always ask, I'm down here in Ayrshire, why are you a Hibs fan? And I always say it's nothing to do with family links back to Edinburgh. It's that my grandfather grew up in that era, and it was glory hunting back then to be a Hibs supporter. So the fact that we've got a chance to match that in the present day, I think you can't understate that. For any club to go on a run like that, a run like this is pretty impressive. So for a team like Hibs to do it in what's viewed as a 2-horse race kind of country is incredible. I don't know whether we'll ever see anything like it again. So I think we need to soak it in while it's here and hopefully actually set a new record. That's
go by it. Yeah, well, as you say, 77 years. That's a lifetime. It's the kind of thing that just tends to not happen, and it would be a kind of. I feel like it'd be a kind of real just reward for this team for what they've done over the past few months to have this permanent thing that they can always look back at and say, yeah, that was us that did that. If you know what I mean.
No, absolutely. It's been one of the weirdest seasons I can probably ever remember as a Hibs supporter, and that really is saying something, I suppose. But it's just that opportunity to write yourself in the history books. How often does that come up? Very rarely, if ever at all. I'm not saying it should be the sole driving factor for getting a result on Sunday, because at the end of the day, the 3 points are as important as any of the 3 points that have been on offer beforehand. But surely that added little bit of, every single one of you in this changing room can kind of write yourself into club folklore. If you get the win, it's got to be worth something. You've got to imagine, and like you say, you're talking back to some of the biggest names Hibernian football clubs ever seen. So to consider yourself alongside legends like that's got to be a huge factor for the players.
Yeah, it kind of David Gray's team talk sort of writes itself this weekend. So, I mean, just to finish off, going to put you on the spot a wee bit. Well, I say that I did give Murray advance warning of this before we come on. I'm not that cruel. So there's 3 teams that can still get into the top 6: Motherwell, Hearts, and St Mirren. I mean, you could maybe answer this question 2 ways. From a purely rivalry perspective, and then maybe look at it a wee bit more kind of objectively in terms of what are the most winnable games, where are you most likely to pick up points. But I mean, just a wee bit of fun, who would be which of those 3 sides do you think would be the best best prospect for Hibs of picking up points post split if they were to sneak into the top 6 on the final day?
I mean, I think it probably goes without saying that Motherwell would be the best option for us to come into the top 6. And as you touched upon earlier, we've not beat St Mirren this season. They're a tough side to play against. Stevie Robinson sets the side up really well, knows how to play against every team in the league really well, and it's not just Hibs that they've caused problems to every team in the division, albeit, I mean, I believe the game would be back at Easter Road if they were to be the top 6 side, but I still would much rather play a Motherwell team that haven't won at Ibrox, which isn't as rare anymore, but they've still shown some vulnerabilities, even with the new manager coming in. And of course, you've noticed that I've completely danced around Hearts because
I thought you might do that.
I mean, I'd love another derby. I'd love to win another derby. I'd love Neil Critchley's record of not winning derbies to be extended, but I don't know, to use a phrase my brother would often say, I don't even want Hearts to win a coin toss. So I think I'd welcome them dropping into the bottom 6, and it's just another wee bit of bragging rights over them. But I mean, I think it works both ways. You know what? If they get into the top 6, it's another derby. It's another massive game between the 2 of us. So I would never turn my nose up at it. I just wouldn't welcome it because they're our rivals and I don't want to see them win anything. So.
Fair enough. That was very professionally handled there. I thought that was a textbook answer. I will leave it there for today, folks. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Thanks to Murray for joining us. We'll have more build-up into Sunday's game on the website through the day, obviously with David Gray's press conference. You can read all that from yesterday and last night to this evening, and tomorrow we'll have an interview with Dylan Levitt, and then building into Sunday there's also an interview with Kieran Bowie. So plenty of pre-match stuff, also a piece kind of previewing the game on the website as well. In terms of video content, we'll be back reviewing next week's game, as always, kind of Monday, Tuesday. So if you've not subscribed to the channel yet, but you do follow these videos, I do suggest you hit that button and give us a wee like as well. It means you get notified every time we go live. I'll stop talking now. We'll wrap it up. Murray, thank you, as always, for joining us. Thank you, folks, for joining us. I hope you enjoy your weekend, and we'll speak to you again very, very soon. Cheers.